It's the old Doctor Who show, episode number 51, Frontios.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, Toby?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS will be free of the force field.
Well, the TARDIS is more than a machine. It's but a person.
The resulting reaction is fighting.
Welcome back, friends. It's the old Doctor Who show, your classic, why do I always want to say online? Online stuck in my head. It's just the
It's not wrong.
It's your tri-weekly classic Doctor Who review podcast. I am your host, Eric.
And I'm your other host, Dan.
And together we meet every 3 weeks, and we're here a little bit later. It's a Tuesday. Usually we're on a Sunday. I was away.
Why is that, Eric? Where were you?
I was in Miami, as we talked about. It was a very busy week. I had to go there for the book fair, which was an exciting experience. I went by myself, so it was a very lonely experience. A lot of sad Eric eating dinner by himself in the hotel bar restaurant.
Those things are liberating. Come on.
But I didn't even get a chance to watch the story we're going to review until I was like Sunday when we normally would record. I was completely exhausted, out of my mind, eating disgusting Pizza Hut pizza in a dirty Miami airport after my Uber driver had ripped me off. Now, I'm not a Uber person, so I've only done Uber a few times.
Yeah.
But I took an Uber when I landed in Miami from the airport to the hotel, and the line on the map was relatively flat and straight across from where you would want to go. And then on the way back, and it was twice as much on the way back as it was on the way there, the driver had hugged the coast and went all the way to the south and then all the way up, and seemed a little suspicious. So I guess I always thought, like, when you did an Uber, it said the price, and that's what you paid, right? No. It was like you agreed to the price. It was like no, just a suggestion.
That's an estimate. That's an estimate price.
It was an estimate. I got my money. I got credited from them because I literally sent them, because it records your trip.
Yeah,
so it's like, you tell me if something looks odd about this thing, and they immediately credited me after that. Because at first they weren't going to.
That's actually pretty good. I would never have expected them to do that, but I've switched.
Yeah, they're not they're kind of a sketchy company. Like they're
a horrible, awful
today
company.
That they got hacked.
And
they paid the ransom and then never told anybody.
Exactly. I mean, they're just horrible. I mean, to be honest, if I'm looking for a job in a couple years, then I'm gonna look at them. But no, they're terrible.
But we're not
that
here
Lyft
to talk.
is all that much better. But
we're not here to talk about tech. So this isn't This Week in Uber or whatever.
Uber, which is our other tri-weekly podcast. No, actually, what I wanted to ask, the reason you were in Miami, you were there for a comic panel.
I did for
Gregory Suicide.
My first comic panel. I'd never done one of those before. It was me and 3 other authors and a moderator, and it was all about immortality and suicide, and not those themes in fiction. We had people in the audience.
You didn't actually kill each other.
No, we didn't have to kill each other. I did get to slip in a Dune. I started talking about Dune at one point, so I was winning at that. And I did say at one point, I was like, do you guys ever, like, when you're on the roof of a building or somewhere, do you feel like you want to jump off? Like, I said that, and it was kind of a weird reaction.
No, I totally get that.
You get that, right?
I totally. That is the fear of heights.
I do have a fear of heights.
You're afraid that you are going to uncontrollably, for some reason, be compelled to come to the edge and fall off.
That's probably why our podcast works so well, because we're both.
Because every 3 weeks, it's like we're jumping off a friggin' building, because we have no idea what's happening. I didn't pack a chute. I wouldn't know how to pack a chute. So, all right, well.
Yeah, so it was good. It was a very good thing. Speaking of which, so my book, Gregory Suicide, which is available for order, is in comic stores, and this is why the comic industry stinks, because the book is in comic stores tomorrow, which is November 22nd. Mm-hmm. It will then be in bookstores on December 5th, so you have to already when you try to explain people when your book's coming out, it's like a 15-minute conversation. You're like, oh, it's only coming out in these places.
Yeah.
It's like, can't it just have one date?
No.
You know?
I don't know.
Anyway, that's
hey, I would say if I hadn't already pre-ordered my copy on Amazon, I would go to a local comic book store and buy it there.
Yeah, if you have a local shop, go there. But again, with local comic stores, most titles are not returnable. So there's a chance that maybe they wouldn't even have ordered it unless you told them to order it. Whereas bookstores, it is returnable, so it should be, at Barnes & Nobles and places like that, as well as...
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, come on, we got to talk about Frontios, Dan.
Is that how we're pronouncing it? Yeah, let's do that.
Frontios. Did I have any other stories? Oh, I will say this before we get into this. It's not that important, but I feel like the last time I was on a plane, I talked on this podcast where I almost got into a fight with the person in front of me because they kept hitting my seat, their seat, into my knees and then yelled at me for my knees being in the way. Night flying is the worst flying. Because, I flew at 8 or 9 o'clock at night because it's a lot of bros and people are drinking. And, I can't stand...
Either of those things?
Either of those things. And I really don't like drunk people. Drunk people have to be the worst people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's true.
So I don't know. I don't know.
I'm horrible when I'm drunk.
Other than people are all horrible. Well, on that note, right? I thought I was going to have a jam or something to talk about, but I didn't really have... It was, what am I going to talk about? Turbulence? What's up with the peanuts? They hardly give you any food.
Wait, no, what is up with them?
So let's hit the button and get us out of this misery.
The power of travel is beautiful, Doctor. Very beautiful.
Yes, indeed. Well, as you can see from this panel, Gravis, I control all the main TARDIS functions, the time coordinates, spatial coordinates, all inoperative at the moment, of course, because the spatial distribution circuits are switched in. Now you really will have to be more careful, Gravis. Now the autoscan's picking up the location of all the concealed TARDIS components. Oh, well, not to worry. I shouldn't think it's even within your powers to reassemble them. Besides... what would you want with an old Type 40 time and relative dimension in space machine,
But I do want it, Doctor. The TARDIS. Infinite travel within my grasp.
Oh, no, Gravis, please. Take everything else, but leave me the TARDIS.
I will have it.
Oh, no, Gravis, please, I beg you. Spare me the TARDIS.
All right, this is Frontios. This is written by Christopher Bidmead, directed by Ron Jones. It's the third story of the 21st season. This is 1984. The Doctor and his companions, and we're still there with Turlo, end up on a planet that, for some reason, is eating people. It's a weird place. There's lots of infighting. And the Doctor gets his hands full when some worms are using their hive mind to eat people and eventually turn the planet into some kind of remote control spaceship.
Well done.
That's pretty well done for that. Was if it wasn't obvious, that was not written down.
Nope.
So I was just running off the rails on that one. Dan, why don't you tell us, because I have a feeling I know what you think of this episode, but or storyline. What did you think? Tell our listeners or viewers, if we're ever going to release this feed, what you thought of Frontios.
I did not enjoy it.
You didn't?
No, it was just, I think we had this conversation too, and I know it's unusual circumstances. You were flying back and not watching it in normal time. I had a fever. The whole thing felt like a fever dream while watching it. But I honestly, as soon as I finished watching this, could not remember a single detail about it. It's just not memorable. Okay, I'm sure we're going to go through this and do the typical fashion where you're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff and be like, oh yeah, that was cool. And then by the end of the review and be like, oh yeah, this is actually a pretty good story. There were interesting things that happened. Turlo's racial memory was not one of them, though. I don't know.
His racial memory?
Yeah, ancestral memory that was coming up.
Oh, right, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, is there some kind of weird, but it wasn't that. I like this. I like this episode, so I was surprised to see how much you hated it.
I didn't say I hated it. I don't like it.
I don't think it's great. Like, there's there's things, I guess, budgetary things too, which we'll probably eventually talk about with some of the costuming and those like slug things with the whatever you would call it, the hairs or things coming out of their mouth as they're talking. But overall, I mean, I kind of thought it was interesting, the fact that these people are getting eaten and pulled into the ground and the infighting, and I like the idea it's a colony and there's some secret that they're keeping from the people and all that kind of stuff. But it was not without its problems. It's certainly not my favorite Doctor Who story by any means.
I mostly had a problem with the colony. I didn't really like any of the characters, and I know you're not really supposed to like some of the characters. Like, let me get Brazen was the main kind of. He wasn't the leader guy, but he was the kind of older curly hair guy, and he kind of redeems himself at the end by sacrificing himself, and that was okay, fine. I didn't really care for him at all. Plantagenet, whatever his name was, the younger guy that becomes the leader after his dad gets eaten by the ground. Horrible.
Hold on. His dad, his head is implanted on a digging machine. Yeah, that was a horrific image of.
I kind of loved that.
The flesh and metal. It was very much, it was like a body horror nightmare.
Well, apparently
it was like a Videodrome thing. Like it felt like a.
Don't mention Videodrome. Don't.
Cronenberg. You don't like Videodrome?
It just makes me. It creeps me out so much.
Long
I can't.
Live the new flesh.
I can't do it. No, I mean that was actually. I think I read that. Originally, they were going to have it be more of like these machines were constructed out of bits of people. Like there was much more of that. And this is no. They just decided that's too much. Let's just scale it back a little bit and we'll do this. And it wasn't just his head. Like, doesn't it reveal that it's his whole body in there? His head's just sitting on top, but it's because they take him out and it's just he's laying there. And then whenever
wait, what do you mean they take him out and he's laying there?
Because the what was his name? It was not Range. It was Revere was the guy's name.
We will back away just a minute. And I will also preface this by saying I was in a delirious state watching this on a tiny iPhone. But I thought the head on the digger was his father.
It was. His name was Revere.
And then we never saw, like, he died and the son was going to replace him. I don't remember seeing the body whole ever.
I thought they took him out of it, and then whenever I'm actually going to go back and look because whenever Brazen gets into it, he's just like kind of in it, strapped into it. I didn't think it was just the head like severed off of the body.
I thought it was just. I think they needed a living mind, so they hook the mind up to the machine.
But they needed a living body, like they needed him to be alive. I don't think that it was.
So you're saying there's a scene, and there could very well be a scene, because again...
Maybe not. I was also delirious.
Right. I thought they had used it. Took the dad was used for this thing, and now all of a sudden they're going to take the son and they hook him to the chair, but they save him. And talk about that scene, too, where they're going to hook... I think they're going to hook Turlo to the chair, and then they rip Turlo up, and then for some reason the other guy gets pushed into
Brazen just somehow falls into it.
So awkward.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff was a little weird. Some of the archetypes of characters that act certain ways and was very familiar. I felt like a lot of these tropes that are happening in this particular episode were well worn already in the Doctor Who. Like you sort of know exactly how people are going to be. There's the scientist who's good, who's trying to help the Doctor, but then they're not going to believe him, and he's got the daughter, and she's going to, it felt very... what's the word, like
you said it, like well trod. It was just like you know beat for beat what's going to happen, and I think that's you say it better than I did. Like that's I think what I had so much of a problem with is mostly just these characters. The idea of a hungry Earth was very cool. The overall plot of what the aliens or the beings were trying to do, and turn the planet into this gravitational spaceship to go infest other planets. That was actually kind of interesting. That they marooned the colony ship there. That was the one of Earth's remaining colony ships after devastation of the Earth smashing into the sun. I thought that was kind of cool too. But
did you think the 10-year delay, like where they caused the ship to crash, and then they say like they let the colony build up before they... Did that seem like maybe an unnecessary unnecessary piece of the plot, like to have a 10-year period to let them build up where there was no act. Like, it felt like, okay, but I don't know. Did you really need that part of it?
It didn't distract me at all. Like, that's fine. It didn't really play much of a role into it, other than...
It was just weird that there was like...
Why even mention it, you mean?
They mention it, and it's part of the plot, and then they land, and then they get like 10 years
Why
or whatever
bother?
it was to build up, and...
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, so, I mean, if we want to kind of jump through this...
Yeah, we can jump through all of it. I mean, there's so many things where I was hoping you were going to say you loved it and be able to explain to me, where I was like...
Oh, well, let's try anyway.
Like, why does the TARDIS turn into all these... spread out all over, and then the creatures are able to put it back together? Like, why did that happen?
I don't understand that either.
It's probably obvious, but...
No...
I was, again, not in my right head watching.
So, like I said, I watched this story, and immediately it just made no impression on me. So, in preparation for this, I went back and read, the full synopsis of it, and that explanation really didn't even stick with me. Like, so the TARDIS gets pulled to this planet through this gravitational field. It enters into a meteor shower, gets pulled onto the planet. Not crash lands, but they land on the planet. How does the TARDIS actually dematerialize into these pieces? It was the cliffhanger at the end of the first episode of the story. They come back to where the TARDIS was, and it's not there. I mean, the hat rack is there, but nothing else is there.
Right, and the Doctor assumes that the TARDIS has been destroyed.
Destroyed somehow.
But it wasn't, right? So it was...
No.
It was... broken apart by the Gravis was
I mean, it
has
not
really,
to be,
because he wants it, and that's what they lure him. They make him fix it because it's so wonderful.
So it somehow got pulled. Yeah, somehow it didn't. It got kind of moved between dimensions. It's not quite in its correct dimension. That's kind of the explanation I had read, and somehow Gravis is able to, with gravitational pull. That name kills me. Anyway. Gravis, with this gravitational pull, is able to reassemble it and pull it back into our proper dimension. It doesn't make any sense to me. I love the effect of it. I liked seeing bits of the TARDIS throughout the caverns underneath, and then when you're inside the control room, seeing bits of the cavern kind of sticking through. Cool. Like that, visually, it looked kind of awesome. Why it happened? Who the F knows? It just didn't seem to make any sense to me. But also, like, why did the Doctor assume... Okay, it seems like a logical deduction that this is where we put the TARDIS. There's a crater here. The TARDIS is destroyed. Except for the fact this happens in every third episode, that they come back to the TARDIS and it isn't where they expected it to be. So... Yeah,
no, but also, why does, like, there's always one character that has the answer and Peter Davison does not want to hear it? That happens a lot, too, where
yes,
Turlough is like, Tegan. I had something important, and the Doctor's like, not now, and, like... I'm getting a little tired of that shtick or that back and forth between... Because Turlough, as you mentioned, with his memories... is a huge part of this story. And I will confess, because we were supposed to do Resurrection of the Daleks.
Yeah.
That was our story. We could not find it. We'll have some news on that at the end. And anyway, I thought that I read this was Turlough's last story, so that's why I told you. I'm like, we have to do...
Yeah.
Frontios. And so going into it, I kept expecting Turlough to stay on or disappear, and especially because the way the story is, he's like a part of it. I'm like, oh, this totally makes sense. We're going
this could be a good finale for him.
Like, these are his thing. We're going to find his people. I thought somehow this planet was connected to... Did you think that going into it? Because he keeps
no, I didn't.
Like, I feel like I've been here, like, because when he's in the caves, he has memories of what happened to his planet, because he's faced these creatures before. I was like, oh, this is his planet. And then it was exciting, and it was not that. So
no, I didn't get that at all. And I didn't think it was his final story. I think his final story is Caves de Adrababa, that I'm not going to pronounce correctly. I think that's his final. So I wasn't expecting him to be gone in this one. I was surprised by how much he had to do in this story with the ancestral memory stuff coming up, which was kind of interesting, sort of.
Yeah, he definitely had and we missed maybe 2 stories before this, or 2 or 3 stories before this.
Yeah, 2 or 3 stories.
Jumped over. But he's much more a real companion and less of an antagonist, and he really building up his heroism. Like, there's a good scene, or I thought it was good anyway, where Turlough is sick and he's plagued by these nightmare visions, but he has to overcome his fear, and he does that thing where he's going to flip a coin, or he has a coin in one hand and he's like, pick it, and if you get the coin, I'm going to go down. and if you don't, I'll stay up. And then we realize there's a coin in both hands. So I thought that was like they're giving him, some redeeming qualities where you're sort of like, okay, maybe Turlough's, Power Pop Turlough is turning it around, and he's.
No, that's actually a really good point. I hadn't thought of that, because that's one of the things we kind of found interesting, but also didn't quite work for him, is that he's this companion who's also in some ways not quite on the level. You can see it more in other episodes, like he has his own agenda that doesn't quite work with them. But in this case, no, he seems to be pretty straightforward, like.
And it was good. And I feel like he confronts that within himself. Like there's scenes where he knows the old Turlough would have not done anything and wouldn't have helped out or would have looked for a way out. And now he's sort of, his character's grown, and he's now a different person than he was. I like, speaking about companions, Tegan in this, where the Doctor refers to her as like an early version of Siri. Like when he's trying to explain Tegan to the Gravis. Yeah. He's like, this is my virtual assistant. Like he basically says she's like a robot who helps his planning and whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
He's basically saying she's a secretary in a demeaning way. But she's the earliest version of a virtual assistant, I think, that we've ever seen. So this is where they built.
This is where the ideas came from.
This is where it came from, people.
This is where they knew.
Did you like Tegan in this? Because I know you sometimes don't like Tegan.
I sometimes don't like the interaction between the Tegan and the Doctor. I liked her fine in this. Yeah, I think she had plenty to do. I loved her friggin' outfit in this, though. Jeez, man, that leather skirt with the hip slung belt and that top was kind of amazing. But the fact is, I have to give her so much credit. In every story, she's wearing heels and running through like caves or running. I mean, this is just what she always has to do. And no, it's not. It can't be. I just love that. Anyway, no, I liked her. She was fine.
What about the? It doesn't matter. We don't need to follow all the details because again, we're skipping over the society that we haven't really touched on that. Well, the fact that this was also 1984, right? So this is the height of glow sticks. Like I remember as a kid of the 80s. When the glow sticks came out, it was like, military technology sold as a day glow, whatever. And it was like you break the stick, and clearly that was the rage because the only light source they have are glow sticks where they're even like, shake it up and the light. And it's also awful and this awful green glow. But their whole... It was hard to sort of follow their whole society because apparently there's only one woman. It's like there's the daughter and all dudes.
No, I noticed there were a couple.
Did you see other?
Yeah, there were a couple of women.
Any other women, but
as part of the colony, there were no women who were the ones who were outcast that left.
But it's kind of like a dictatorship, right? Or some kind of. He's not a king.
Military. It's very military style. It feels, except hereditary for some reason.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is it like a passage through like a kingship or something? Because. When there's a chance that the king, does he have a title? Like an official title? Do they call him anything?
I don't think he has an official title, but when I read his name, I don't remember them saying his name like this.
Yeah,
but
when they find out that there's a chance that he's dead, which they're covering up, it goes to chaos, where everyone's revolting, and it's like you can't, if there's no leader, there's clearly no democratic process, there's no... representation for there's no chain of command. If this guy's gone, it's instant. There's one guy's like looting. Like halfway through, there's this character who we didn't really meet before, but somehow he's important, and he's like looting something, and they kick him out, and becomes their messiah of the rabble. Right. When he's pulled into the ground,
sucked in.
But he did, and then he's like all of a sudden now he's in charge of that group, and.
Right.
There's just so many things going on in this story.
There were so many things going on, and yet so little that had any sort of impact. I mean, there was a colony of what felt like maybe 24 people. I don't know. It just didn't feel very
and the idea is
substantial.
It's not a big colony, too. It's on the decline. But you're right. It's only like 24 people that we see. I don't know if
what
it's
it seems like.
Bigger.
I know. It's obviously supposed to be bigger, but yeah. So, they crash land and all their failure-proof technology was destroyed, and the planet has no combustible materials. Like, by the way, so this thing ends, the creatures and the Gravis is gone, so the creatures are just like these normal, earth-burrowing creatures, not going to be a problem anymore. So they're going to be left on this planet that has no combustible material. Like, what are they supposed to do?
Yeah,
how are they left here?
Well, what about
it's like they're marooned here forever. Like, how is this supposed to be a successful colony?
But didn't the Gravis looks like the creatures? Like,
except it has a nose.
It does, but otherwise...
It has a big nose. Otherwise, it's the same.
Was the Gravis a native of this planet? So it just happens to show up at a planet that had other creatures already living there that looked just like him? Did he bring them with him?
No, I think they are all one group organism, but they rely on him as the central piece. I got that part. But I'm saying like that's the struggle. It's like an ant colony with a queen. I think is how it works. Like without the queen, the whole thing falls apart. But so without him,
they move him to off planet to some. They say it's some dead planet with no life on it.
Right.
So the Gravis is going to wake up and starve to death and die a miserable death, or is he going to create more of these things? And
no, he goes into. He goes into a.
What is the life cycle?
No, it seems like I think they say that he goes into some sort of like stasis. Like he goes into hibernation without the rest of them around him. So he's just going to go and hibernate on some dead planet for all of eternity, and then the rest of them that are left over are just going to, chew rocks, I guess. Yeah. The Tractators.
What was up with the hat stand?
That was like kind of cute.
Cute at first, but it was like they really, and even at the end, they remind you of like, was there any significance in it other than they were like, you know what, I'm going to center this whole thing around a hat stand, and I'm going to make it work. And
I think it was a dare.
It's up to you.
It was a dare someone made for Bidmead. No, I don't know. Like at the beginning, it's like, so apparently we missed some stuff because there's a bit of commotion.
Stuff.
What's that?
Is that were you going to talk about the Time Lord stuff we missed?
Well, I don't know what stuff. I mean, I know that he says that don't tell the Time Lords about this.
Yeah.
But that's just a general thing. That's their, like, don't interfere with the timeline sort of thing. I didn't think it had anything to do with episodes we missed.
I would say, and we don't know, obviously. People at home listening probably are yelling
screaming
at their speakers. But to me, it felt like we missed something within the last couple of stories.
Yes.
Where they ran into the Time Lords and the Doctor was punished in some way because... Not even at the end. He also in the beginning he won't touch anything. Like he won't involve himself, and then it takes some coaxing of the Doctor to get him to even intervene here. So I feel like something happened, and that's why they're saying what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean something definitely is going on because there's weird vibes going on in the control room.
Yeah.
But they're like the Doctor's off like reorganizing the TARDIS and picks up the hat rack and is going to move it around. It's just one of those nice things like, oh, the hat rack, it's been around forever. It has no purpose. There's no reason for it. And now there's like calling attention to it. Like that's kind of nice in a weird way. And then, yes, like you said, it just becomes the central prop throughout the entire story that it could be.
I didn't have an issue with it. Like Turlo pretends that he's a magician with it, like, or it's a weapon of some kind.
It's a weapon, right?
They don't understand the meteor shower. Can
we
talk about the meteor shower?
Sure.
I don't know if I understand the meteor shower. The Gravis is pulling it from another planet.
He's pulling in meteors and floating debris from the asteroid fields around.
Okay, because
system.
That's what I assumed was happening. But the fact that they're convinced it's an alien attack.
Yeah.
They have enough technology and science to have a spaceship. Like it just feels
had a spaceship. Like
they
no longer
that was crashing.
So you're saying that they should be smart enough to be like
smart enough to think like a planet is being destroyed. Like I don't know. It just felt like if they were like cavemen, like it's fire from sky.
Oh, I think because it had been calm for 10 years, and then all of a sudden the bombardment started, and they kept coming more and more regularly. I guess.
But the fact that it was going on for so many years, like I don't know. I also expected a deal. I'm sorry to keep going, but I also expected that I was talking first, Dan. I thought that the Gravis and the whatever the guy's name is, the father or something, had some kind of arrangement that was going to be uncovered.
Yeah, no, I kind of felt like that was going to happen too.
They didn't really
explain
that, you know.
No, the father who was Revere, like he discovered that these creatures were there. That's why they closed the mines. They weren't able to create buildings underground to withstand the meteors because of, he knew what was happening there and forbade it, and still continued his research afterwards. Yeah, no, I kind of felt like something like that was going to happen as well, but that's just never...
he knew... Like,
it would have actually been more interesting.
Right, well, it's like, okay, well, we know that he knows that it's there, so they've closed it off. You're not allowed to talk about it. They have the file of deaths that you can't explain because they know people are getting
deaths unaccounted, yeah.
But I thought it was going to turn out, okay, well, they're sacrificing X amount of people per month, and in exchange, they're... But that part doesn't happen.
No,
and for some reason, the sun doesn't... It's like people don't even realize this thing is going on, so it's like, who's hiding these folders? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when they're like, where did you see those files? And you're like, oh, they're secret. But then you're like, they didn't even know about the files, and now they're, it was like a conspiracy, and you're like, who's in on it? And then you're like, nobody's in on it.
Nobody's in on it.
But the guy whose head stuck to the snow machine, the snow blower. Disaster.
Yeah. So, I don't quite understand, and this might be obvious too. Like, so the Gravis is pulling in all these meteors and causing this. But what was the purpose of that exactly? Was that intentional?
I don't know. I mean, yes, it's a gravity creature. It's Gravis. So it's using the people for the machines.
Yes,
that makes sense.
Sure,
it's maybe just to keep the people.
To kill people? To use their bodies?
I guess, right? Because I guess...
But that seems like a horribly inefficient way of doing it.
And they're not really pulling live people, or healthy people. It's always when you fall down after you've been hit. So you have to be injured in some fashion. So that's probably it. Maybe
Frontios
pull
buries
down
its dead.
A metal tower first. Move some boxes of grain around and hit people in the head. It does feel a little bit like... And if you've got that kind of... the gravity of that reach, where you can pull from another planet, you probably could just pull people while they're standing up and just pull as many as you need and go on with your day.
It does feel that way. I mean, they clearly pull people from across the room and drag them around.
Right. And to what end? Like, even if you do turn this planet into a spaceship, you're just going to go to another planet and then make more... Like, how do they make more? Again, I gotta figure out
the whole life cycle.
How do they mate? Is there,
Do they feel love?
Yeah, I don't know. These are the questions that are going to keep me up at night. We get a big cliffhanger on this one too, which is going to conclude in Resurrection of the Daleks, right? So at the end, the TARDIS starts going crazy, right? Or like they're pulled into. Doesn't that happen? Are they pulled somewhere and they have no control over the TARDIS and we don't know where they're going?
Which is basically every story. Yeah, I mean, it didn't really, okay, next story. It didn't really, what's going to happen next for me at all. Because, I mean, that's kind of how this story started as well, is that they were just kind of hanging out, and then all of a sudden they're out of bounds of time, and they get sucked into...
Right, but don't you feel like with most of the stories that we do, the ending isn't like that, right? It's usually
that's true.
They just leave, whereas this... feels like
they were setting something up,
a continuation. So I imagine the next story. See, again, I figured Turlough's got to leave, right? So you think he's staying on until
I think so,
yeah. Which I've seen, and I don't remember Turlough in it, but
I could be wrong. I'm trying not to read ahead, but I felt like I read that. So
all right, I don't want to read ahead either. So there's a bunch we're gonna miss. Like we're gonna miss Planet of Fire, unfortunately, and I don't know if that's good or not, but that's not on our list.
Maybe for the second round, we'll pick some of those up.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about?
Well, I mean, so one? did you not like the creature design?
I liked the creature design.
Okay.
I thought the creature design was really cool.
Yeah.
I thought the budget,
I agree.
It looks like there are times when, especially when they do the close-ups of the mouth moving, where they have like the hairs or whatever.
Yeah.
I could have used some work, but I thought it was a cool-looking creature, and I liked the Gravis, and I just liked him, and it was cool. It felt like creepy when you're underground, and I liked how the wall seemed alive, and it was all. I liked all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
I really like.
I agree.
Story.
I agree. Actually,
I'm negative on a lot of it, but overall, maybe it was my mood, but I felt like I don't know. I liked it.
I really like the creature designs, except for the Gravis. Honestly, this is not not kidding. I liked everything about it except for the nose. Like, if it didn't have the nose, the other ones looked so much better. They just looked cooler, but like that nose just looked ridiculous. They could have done something else to distinguish that, oh, this is the leader guy instead. But anyway, so there was one thing that I just found a little disturbing in this story was, so you mentioned before that Turlo and Norna are left behind, and Turlo is like, all right, pick a hand, whichever one has the coin, if it has the coin, I'm going to go, otherwise, blah, blah, does that thing. He leaves Norna behind. And then there's the retrogrades, the colonists that have been exiled are creeping around. And so she gets, like, attacked by a guy.
Yep.
Like, that whole encounter felt really disturbing to me. Like, she kind of beats the guy in the end and whatever, but like it was that hair. It was really uncomfortable, and the way he was grabbing her and holding her underneath the walkway, and it was just really, really gross. And I don't know if it's just the times that we're living in, but man, it was horrifying.
No, I agree with you on that. And then that was one of my other problems with this is you have this society that's so unstable. Mm-hmm. And you've got no clear leadership, and if a leader dies, it's chaos. And then there's like instantly this roving gang of bad dudes that never really get taken care of at the end, really. I mean, it's like he just leaves the place. As you're saying, as you mentioned before, there's not a lot of resources or anything for this colony to make it, even though they got rid of their problem of people. What are they going to do?
Yeah,
it still feels like chaos.
It's still there. Yeah.
That was weird.
Just FYI, I was kind of skimming through the videos as we're talking here. So the machine that that they're using the people in, you can clearly see that his whole body is there. It's not just the head, but it is wired to his head, and it reminded me very much of Davros. Like that felt like a Davros sort of thing that was happening there, but like the body is just
the body is it's not a severed head,
encased
the
behind.
Connected.
That's right.
So maybe you did see the body out.
Maybe I did,
because
I will find.
I thought it was just literally like it was like a head, and it was like what's that movie that Mars Attacks, whatever.
Right.
The head.
Yeah. No, sir. You were too busy drinking with your bros on your flight to catch that one. Let's see. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, that's it. I didn't love the story. I didn't like the stuff that happened above ground. I like the aliens.
You didn't like the exploding lamps that people were throwing. It was like a weird.
Real quick. Yeah. No. Just leading on to that. So they couldn't get the light bright enough. They couldn't get past the control room to get the equipment that the doctor wanted to bring lighting into the medical tent because the doctors are going to try to help heal people.
Yeah, and then they get that battery.
So they got the battery. This acid battery.
Yeah.
That they carry back, and it splashes and eats through the floor, very alien style, whatever. So that was kind of cool. But they used that to do a defibrillator.
Yes. That was awesome.
It was bonkers. That didn't make any sense.
No, and there's so many like pulleys and levers in here, and it's just, and then the dates on the rocks too. They're like, what's the date on that rock or whatever.
Right.
That's when my eyes started to glaze over a little bit. And I was like, who got what rocks now?
Oh, they had rocks. So they were mining rocks.
Why is somebody writing numbers on rocks?
But they were mining rocks because they made the assumption. I swear I heard this. They made the assumption that they're under attack because of some valuable minerals that must be underground.
Yeah, that was the
that is
reason.
A weird logical leap to make.
Was a little odd. That's why it was like almost like, was this like the part of Earth that tested out of what, like, it was like, okay, you got to take this test, and if you pass, you go to this planet, and if you don't, you got to go.
It's the special planet,
and his son.
It's a remedial planet.
Oh, I was like Don Jr. Was that this? Actually, this all sort of works out as the current United States government right now.
It really does work. It's horrifying.
When we're under Don Jr. as the president, and when that comes,
that's gonna be amazing.
On that,
all right.
Do you have anything else?
No, that
some of the names were weird. Wasn't someone named Planet something?
That was the sun. It was Yes.
It was like a weird, lot of weird namings. Like
yeah, so we had
and like
with Cockerel, who's the guy that becomes the leader of the retrogrades. We had
the guy scurrying for food.
Right.
Or, yeah.
I liked when he got attacked. Like he got food, they kicked him out, and he immediately got set upon by people who were like waiting at the stage door, kind of. Just like, all right, let's get him.
My favorite part of the thing,
pretty nuts,
because it was in like you saw a whole story of like guys rise and then it's fall and then he's kicked out and it's all within like 30 seconds. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna take my lamp and leave, and then all of a sudden he just gets beat up, and then all of a sudden he's their hero he's
their hero. Plantagenet was the son's name. Range was another name. Yeah. Tractators.
It was good.
I don't know. Whatever. It's fine.
It was all right.
It's fine.
It was
middle of the pack.
I liked the Star Wars style uniforms on the people. Like I always liked that sort.
But they were horribly made and really ill-fitting.
Yeah, I think,
considering how good the production design was.
It feels like
no, it can't be, because the production, they had so many different sets, so many different rooms.
They did have a lot of sets.
And they were all really well done. Honestly, like a lot of detail in all of these sets. They had to outfit a lot of people. The creature design was pretty good. I don't know.
So maybe
that's where they had to cut.
You don't think money was an issue?
Maybe. I don't know. It did not work very well for me. The design looked okay. Just like it. I don't know. Anyway, I think that's it.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, again, I was hoping this was Turlough's last episode. I thought him and Norna had a future. I was like, maybe
spin-off.
these two, and then he'll stay on the planet. And then I was like, well, that's a little bit too much like Nissa, or Nissa. Whatever somebody said, we said it wrong, so I can't remember which.
I will never say it right. It's fine.
Direction. But that's it. I think we
got it.
You didn't like it. I sort of liked it.
Middle of the pack.
That's okay.
Who cares?
Yep,
that's it. All right, so what do we have coming up next? What's the news?
Well, okay, so we were supposed to do Resurrection of the Daleks, and then we canceled it and did this one because, unfortunately, that is a hard episode to find. You can't find it on iTunes to buy. You can't digitally. You can't find it on Amazon digitally to buy. You can
the DVD was only not from Amazon, but from like used sellers and whatever. And I don't trust that.
Whenever you go to Amazon and you're like, there's no buy now button, you're gonna be like, just on that weird.
I'm not gonna chance it.
That is the other sellers.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, we can't do it. And then I have a friend who's got a ton of DVDs and he has it, and I feel like we got to do it because
We'll slip that in.
Do it.
We'll do Resurrection of the Daleks next, and then
we are going to do it. Apologies if you're unable to find it. I have heard several people pointed out to us that you can go to Sally. It rhymes with Sally Koshin, right? A video site. We want people to buy the stuff. We
Bailey
don't want
Ocean.
To torrent episodes or pirate episodes.
But whatever you do, you do.
Whatever you do, you do. And however, I would say if it's not easy to purchase it, you know what I mean? Like if it was on digitally available, then it's like you don't have an excuse for not. But in this case,
it's super hard to find. Like so
no
you're going to watch it how you're going to watch it, folks.
If you find it on Scaly Motion.
Scaly Ocean? Billy Ocean?
You get scabies. It's not... So...
but... on the other hand, you don't really have to watch it because I'm sure our review will be like painting a picture as though you have watched it.
Yeah, and I'm crossing my fingers that Turlough will leave. Although I liked him more this Powerpup Turlough's. He came through in this episode. But
so we're going to have Resurrection of the Daleks, and then we'll end the year with Caves.
Yeah, and how appropriate. We will close out the Doctor, and we will close out the year. Although I think we won't release it until January.
It'll be the first episode of
Dan and I will still be in the past, and you will be in the future.
Just like always.
And if you want to contact us... Right, Dan, you can email the old Doctor Who show at gmail.com. And I say that because I don't think we got any emails.
Not this time.
Right?
People were too overwhelmed by our live show.
Yeah, we did that live show. So if you haven't watched that, I believe you can still watch the YouTube video. It's floating out there. You can also listen to this stream. No, you can listen to the feed, our episode feed. We'll do that again. That was fun.
Yeah, I would definitely do it again. Good times.
And I think doing the video thing is always an interesting concept. Maybe people like that. You tell us. Do you want to see more video?
Yeah, let us
know. Do you listen to podcasts or watch podcasts on YouTube? let us know. We will definitely. I would consider doing that instead of a more traditional podcast. So, or we could do both.
Well,
we didn't get any iTunes reviews, right?
I was just looking. You can also just Facebook, Twitter. We're also there as well, so you can reach us, tweet at us, and let us know what you think of the episode. We'll post the GIFs and links to this story. Obviously, when we go live, by the time you're reading this, it'll be there. Do we have no? We have no new reviews. So if you want to go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review, that would be great.
Leave us a review. If you're listening to this and you liked it, you got this far, you can leave us a review. We only got 24 reviews. There's more than 24 of you.
I know this for a fact.
Look at the stats. There's more than 24 of you. One of you is holding out. So that's it.
And that's it.
I think, right? We got nothing else? So try to find Resurrection of the Daleks. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good episode.
It better be great.
I haven't read much about it.
It better be great.
I like that. So maybe it's a terrible episode, but we'll find out together.
Yep. All right. Until next time.
Until then. Peace out.
Granny?
Peace out.
You're a little late, so come right this way. Start right in, okay?
What? Say it now.
Yeah.
Say it now. Yeah. Me and the Ohio player's gonna tell you about a worm. He's the funkiest worm in the world. Okay, say it, fellas.
There's a worm in the ground. Yes, it is.
That's right. That's right.
He is 6 feet down.
6 feet down.
He only comes around
when he wants to get down. But when he comes out of his hole, he sounds something like this. Oh, that's funky. That's funky. Like 9 cans of shaving powder. That's funky. Come on with it again, fellas. Come on with it.
in a foreign land. Yeah.
Sing it.
He plays guitar.
Plays in the band.
Plays guitar without any hands. Pretty good, I might add.
Yeah. When he grabs his guitar and starts to pluck, everybody wants to get up and dance.
Where's my robot? You know?